It's easier to release music than ever, but still you can't succeed. And still less and less artists are actually like building an independent career. So we're gonna break that down. But to first understand why this happens, we need to think about it. Okay, because the fact that more people can make and release music, it's a double-edged sword. Because even though you can make music, it also means that everyone else can make music easily. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that it's gonna be oversaturated, you know? Everyone can now make shit music and everyone can post and spam social media. And at the end of the day, that means that competition for attention is way more competitive, okay? It's way harder to get attention. So the reason why you cannot succeed and build a fan, even though you're probably making nice music and decent music, it's because you're not like differentiating yourself from the masses, okay? Because at the end of the day, the people who are gonna build a fan base easiest are the people who are the best at something. Okay, if you're the best at marketing, if you're the best at like making music, then you're probably gonna reach more people. But the problem is that there's so much noise and there's so many people making stuff on social media and on Spotify that you can't really break through the noise unless you find like a very, very like interesting strategy. Okay, and that's what we're gonna break through today. So think about it. Okay, firstly, think about like the artists you listen to. The artists you listen to are probably not new artists at the end of the day. We all listen to like established artists like the Drakes or the Kendrick Lamars, you know. At the end of the day, unless you're some underground rap fan, like the majority of people listen to already established artists. Well, how did those artists become big and, you know, famous? Well, they usually had like record label backing them, you know. They usually had someone pumping in a lot of money to them. They had press tours and runs and singles that, you know, got on fucking billboards and shit. So you don't have that, and you don't need that, quite frankly, because the music game has changed. Well, how has it changed? Well, it's mostly on social media these days. And so the equivalent of those record labels pumping in money and putting in, you know, promoting the singles, well, it has changed. The people promoting on social media. So you need to think, how can you win on social media? Well, it's not about pumping in the most money. It's about garnering the most attention. And that attention doesn't always come from money, okay? That attention comes from being smart, okay? It comes from being smart. You need to literally think about these social media platforms. If your goal is to get as many people to listen to your song as possible, then you need to engagement bit on social media at the end of the day. Like, your music career is not succeeding because you're not grabbing as much attention as possible, okay? You're not grabbing enough attention because, as I said before, music, what has happened is become oversaturated because anyone can make music, okay? Everyone makes fucking music these days. And so it's oversaturated. You need to find a unique way to position yourself, okay? And that, I think it all comes down to branding firstly. You need to have like a clear lane that you go, a clear gimmick even. You know, I think everyone who makes music and wants to market that music, they should start with a gimmick, you know? And I don't mean that you need to be some type of joke artist or gimmick artist, you know, but you need to have a thing that's like solely yours, okay? And I'm gonna tell you how to kind of like make that gimmick, okay? Because that's like, you need to find your own little like formula. And so sorry for interrupting, but if you need help building a music brand that attracts a fan base, we can literally do that for you in the first link in the description if you're interested. And if not, just keep watching the video. Who do you make music for? What music do you make and for who? Think about that. You need to like have an idea. And usually, in literally most cases, you're just making music for yourself, okay? You're making music for someone like you in a certain situation. So it can be, maybe you make sad music for someone who's sad and wants to cope with their feelings, whatever. Maybe you make energetic music for people in the gym. Maybe you make music for people who want to go out into the world and explore. Whatever it is, write that down and think for who. Okay. Now think about like, put yourself in that like target audience position, okay? So where would they be on social media and what would they respond to? And so now the kind of strategy you need, yeah? And I got this strategy, like countless of artists have done this, where they kind of have like a rinse and repeat formula that targets a certain group of people. So I'm not a biggest fan of this person, but Doechie's music, basically, how she started her career, like obviously she's now somewhat of an industry plant. Before she got signed, she built up like a pretty decent following by sitting in her room and performing songs that she wrote. And it was this kind of aesthetic where she would sit in her room with this kind of like homemade studio DIY stuff. And basically that attracted a lot of people who were into this kind of lo-fi bedroom DIY art, you know. And basically she posted a ton of videos and shit over and over again, a bunch of songs and videos in her room with this DIY studio. And that was kind of her thing. That was kind of like her formula. Okay, so you need to find like your own kind of like something that appeals to your like, group of people. And so that is why it's so important to like define your brand. Okay, sit down and think, what group of people do I want to make music for? Do you want to make music for literally, do you want to make music for like monks in the mountains? Do you want to make music for people who like to party? Whatever. Just think about it. And then create an engagement baiting like video formula. Okay, so you want to firstly pick a place. Okay, what place can you make a video in to attract these people? If you're someone who makes nature videos, pick out a stunning scene in nature where you can just literally like put the camera like in front of a beautiful mountain or whatever, and that is enough. Okay, if you're someone who wants to make energetic music for people to feel motivated, well, go to the gym and record a video in the gym. If you want to make music for sad people, just literally like put the camera down in your room. Okay, but you need to pick a setting. Okay, where are you gonna be? Okay, and then you're gonna pick the format. Okay, there's a few type of formats where you can go. You can make a song showcase. I always recommend to go for a song showcase where you just like kind of showcasing your song. But the problem with the song showcase is that it's focused on your music and it's not focused on like getting as much engagement as possible. So you want to get as much engagement as possible, just literally go out and make a literally like a skit or like a jokey video where you kind of like forming engagement. For example, go on the street and play your music for an old person at like a retirement home, and it can be this crazy like underground rap where it's, you know, a funny video, whatever. Like make a funny video like that can be centered around your song. For example, if you're, I'm trying to think of something at the top of my head now. If you're someone who makes sad songs, literally like go to a house party and literally like plug the speaker to your phone and literally just play the sad songs and like film how everyone reacts to the sad song being played and the mood changing, whatever. Like either you find like there's two things that I recommend doing. Either you find like a place that fits your music and you play your music and have a song showcase there with a unique style and whatever, or you literally make like a joke video like centered around your music. It's not harder than that. But what you need to understand, like the thing artists like don't understand is that even though it's easier than ever to make music, it's harder than ever to get attention and gain attention. And so like your focus shouldn't be like to make the music, because making the music is easy, you know. Focus should be, how can I garner as much attention as possible? And in doing so, you'll probably find a way to stick out more than the other people. And if you do, that's freaking amazing.